YouTube shave fans, SuperCurve honing fans, type 2 diabetes rescued by keto fans, and carnivore eating fans, the proper human diet. Bill is October 20th, 2024. I'm going to do a shave today. I'm going to use a soap that's good soap. I got alerted way too late that this was going to go out, and I managed to get some of the fine tallow-based hard soap. I think I have another puck of this somewhere. I put it in one of my old Sterling tubs. Got the American Blend. The American Blend is a homage to I'll think of it. Yves Saint Laurent, Rive Gauche, very, very good barbershop scent. The fine version, American Blend, is still available as far as I know. I do like it. There are people that say it doesn't last quite as long, that have some of the original, which I think you can maybe get some of that still around, using a makeup boar brush, cheap one, inexpensive. And it was made, for those of you who are concerned, it was made from plastic boars, okay? So they found these plastic boars and they harvested the bristles from these plastic thingies. So only plastic animals were harmed in the making of this brush. This is a good smelling soap. I don't know why. You know what? If I'd have found this stuff and bought enough of that, I could probably just have shaved with this, just the same soap and aftershave set up for. I wouldn't have, but I probably could have. Whatever. I did use the Rich Man's Pre-Shave, the Pro Lasso. Green, which would be, I guess, the menthol eucalyptus. I like it. I just do like it. Okay. I got way more hair growth than I should. I've been distracted by some of the happenings in the news and in the world, and reading some things with some humor and finding some interesting things. And I thought a very, very interesting thing that came up was you should look up Candace Owens and on YouTube or on Rumble or whatever, and see what you can find about Grandma Beryl. That's Beryl. Apparently, she's claiming that there was a picture in this. Now, I'm a Democrat, and I'm supportive of the Democrats because we're going to shove it up your wazoo. Okay, whether you know it or not, we will. Okay, just like I became a Democrat to have some sort of a choice in the primary, but that just didn't happen. But that's how we Democrats do things. Okay, and you should get used to it. Now, when I actually go to vote, what I do will actually be my little secret. But I am supportive of this woman that somehow didn't wind up on the primary, and I have to be, because as a Democrat, I'm supporting the Democrat Party. But anyhow, Candace says in her autobiographical book, there's this picture of this woman that likely was one of the slaves held by her family, her mostly white Irish family, before her father met the Indian woman that was her mother. And anyhow, she's doing some research. She's finding this Grandma Beryl is an Irish white woman, not this dark-skinned slave woman. Anyhow, a friend from an acquaintance through one of the shave forms that was only one shave form that was actually initially amicable to my method of honing. More are some were allowing some things now, but what had happened in the past and how they rejected it, I'll just never forget about it, and I'll not stop talking about it. But the shaving cadre was the one who just figured it's your stuff. Do with it as you will. Okay. Anyhow, I was listed, as I still am, is listed as a hobbyist over there, which is what gives you like special stuff to talk about. Stuff that you do, and if you want to make money as a hobbyist, making brushes, handles, doing sharpening, restorations, whatever, you can do that. So I'm still listed that way, although I've never actually taken money for it. And this gentleman had me hone a couple of razors for him that he just wasn't happy with. I honed them a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure what happened. I asked him about how they were doing, and he's got this new one, okay, and I asked him how they were doing, and he said, well, that's an unfortunate circumstance. So that's as far as I think it went. Anyhow, he's got this new one. It's a Ralf Aust, okay. It's a 6/8, looks like a 6/8 with a nice looking razor. It has plastic scales, nice looking razor, has the nice Spanish point. I really like this. I didn't look and see what these cost, but I do know somebody who bought the same blank for me and was kind of unhappy with it directly from Ralf Aust. Okay, I didn't see a problem with this one. I don't know how it was honed. It came from that guy who sells these things, a lot of these things up in Michigan, and I don't know if he honed it. I'm not real sure. I looked at it, and I'll put a video in the end where I did an evaluation of it and how I honed it and that kind of stuff. And it's interesting. It has a more unique sound from any other steel that I've used, even though this is the same steel from the Hugo Herkenrath Forge in Germany. Okay, it has to be, otherwise he couldn't put Solingen on here. Okay, but it's the same steel, but they do, the individual guys, as I understand, do have their proprietary hardening and tempering techniques. So I usually, when I do hone razors for somebody else, even though I do the packing peanut test, it always seems to come out that if I like the results of that test, that's been a reliable indicator for me of how something will shave. And I'm not sure if I took a blemish off there or I cut myself. I didn't feel that I cut myself. And this is why, if I do one of these things and I do a shave with this, to the gent whose razor this will be immersed in Barbicide, which is a barber sanitizing solution for the time that it's supposed to go in 10 minutes or something like that, and washed off. And then it will be, it will have some sort of a vegetable to keep it from rusting. So I really like watching that little short about people who want to become president and that kind of stuff. What's going to happen is, I don't know. Is my hope and my prayer that enough people are still wise enough to look at the founding document for the United States, the Constitution, and weigh some things into balance and make wise decisions, choices that are best for them. This is a nice shaving razor, nice feel to it. It of course, all these guys they all grind them a little bit differently, but it's part of the fun of doing this, is just learning what adjustments you have to make things work. So let's see, what else was I going to talk about? I just, when I get on here, I just kind of let my mind freewheel. There was something in the honing, and I'll maybe get to it. It was pretty interesting. Largely, I keep always, and even though I keep trying stuff, I largely always keep going back to the same stuff that I really had kind of settled in on a couple of years ago. Even though there's some small variations, I keep kind of going back. And there was something I bought that I thought would be at some point a benefit for me, because and this is some years ago, and there's a few guys around who know of this type stuff. But there's this nano cloth, okay? And I'll get to where you can kind of find that today, but there was a time that at Chef's Knives to Go, that he was marketing a nano cloth mounted to glass, ensuring super flatness, nanocloth being something that would not impart any characteristics of its own. Into the stropping process. And I put a 10th micron CBN on it. And no matter where I would go, I'm figuring this is an end thing, because generally I think this was originally developed for knives. The idea was like to be the last step in a knife sharpening progression, and I just never had luck to my liking with that in razors. And I don't sharpen my knives by hand. I use a rod guide system. So it just never really seemed to work out for me. But on this one, this was interesting, and you'll see in the video. But I kind of came to a point where I was like really, really close in what I wanted in a push cutting through a packing peanut. just not quite there. And looking at it under magnification. And I use a lot of different magnification. I do like my scope, but a lot of times you can almost see everything you need to see with a good 20 power loop. So what I was seeing was, in the end, you could see these along the apex. You could see like these glinty light things, and I suppose if you had a really, really powerful magnification, you could get in there. Because what I don't, because when you're honing off of a curved surface, it is not like traditional sharpening, honing like a knife or most traditionally accepted or popular razor sharpeners use, where you go a stone and you go through a progression. That's how I learned to sharpen knives. It's very, very effective that way. But once I started using convex hones and learning more and more about it and practicing about it, what I found is not so much, you do have a progression, but your progression entails two things: the course of how coarse the abrasive is that you're using, number one, and number two, the shape of what you're using. So in essence, a lot of times I'm dealing with kind of four shapes. Okay, a deep curve which goes back on a pretty coarse abrasive, one secondary curve which is maybe a less aggressive abrasive most of the time, and then a almost flat one which is on the Jared plate, the 24-foot radius, and then flat, obviously. And I was working with those, and I find I go back and forth because it's not much difference in how much steel is there between the different curves levels. It's really kind of easy to move that, and I recommend to anybody who's working with to not hesitate to actually, if you're on that last step, don't, on your final finishing stone, don't hesitate to go back one step to the more coarser and more curvy stone, because you're not going to damage the edge and your edge that you're working with. Okay, so if you're on a kind of a curve like this, instead of having to redo this whole thing, you're just redoing this, and you cut it a little bit away, and then you can get this. And so looking under a scope, seeing the scratch patterns on the sides of the razor on the sides of the bevel does not really mean a whole lot to me. As much as being able to see and perceive the difference between the curvatures that I'm using. And I saw this like little glinting at the apex, which kind of indicates it might be a burr or something. And I went on that nano strop on glass, and I was amazed that it went from a push cut that was a little tough to get on the packing peanut to a directly in, just with stropping on that one. That one step. Because a lot of times what I'll do is when I get close, I'll go into my strop progression, which is on a curvy strop, which which does go back into the bevel a little bit more, okay, to avoid the typical micro convexing of the bevel that you would get with a flat strop or with a hanging strop. So I was pretty surprised at how just a light touch did that and clean it up, and I'm assuming that it must have been, you know, if I had a much more powerful microscope like Greg Gallant has, maybe I could actually have seen the burr, but I don't. Okay, but it did work out pretty well. I was pretty happy with how it worked out. And this razor's shaving right good. I'm happy with it. I believe I could encourage somebody to buy one of these. I've never discouraged. I've always heard mostly good things about this gentleman's products. Unfortunately, sometimes when somebody has a mostly good reputation like that, people will forget that this is a handmade product. Everyone is actually unique, and that maybe there's sometimes okay, you know, it was Monday morning, I leaned a little bit harder, my shoulder was hurting as he was grinding, and maybe it's a little different, maybe it's a little off. And some of those imperfections affect people differently. I accept them as part of the thing because I've bought French razors that were notorious for not having the perfect geometric pyramid, triangle, pyramidical triangle or whatever shape you want to call it. Okay, the lines are not perfectly straight. Okay, and that's something that I accepted would be there, and I have learned to hone around it. So even though I didn't have any problem sharpening this, if the expectation was for somebody to be able to look at this and see that this bevel is exactly perfectly straight lines on both sides, it is not. There are some subtle moves in this metal. Is it as bad as some that I've heard about? I don't know. The only thing I can say is for this or any other razor, if the dealer that you're dealing with is willing to guarantee a personal visual inspection for the product that he is going to sell you and guarantee satisfaction based on his review of that, then that puts his reputation on the line, and that puts him in the position of dealing with any inconsistencies with the manufacturer. But if I was in a business, I would not, you know, if this guy made this and he says it's good and I can sharpen it and I can shave with it and it meets, the fit, form, and function of the tool that I'm buying, Uh, I personally would not want to be in the situation to have to guarantee somebody else's satisfaction. But if you were selling these things and you can, in the position where you could do that, you should do that. And that's where you should buy from somebody. Like, I think that guy in Michigan, does have some sort of guarantee, but you should talk to him, okay? Because what I suspect would happen is I would suspect he'd say something like that, or lead you to believe something like that, or say that that I've expertly honed that, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it's something that you did, you stropped it, and you really, I don't know how this stuff goes, okay? But it's one of those things that don't take it too seriously. I gotta start shaving more regular. Run the water in your ear like that. Slop soap all in my shirt. I gotta start shaving more regular and not this once a week deal or whatever. Anyhow, if you're here in the U.S., I encourage you to participate in the right that you still have, supposedly, to vote and make a selection for who you might like to lead the country. I've just heard way too many powerful people and news people and all talking about misinformation, disinformation, yada, 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 yada. And it's like to the point where, you got somebody being a policeman over what you can say. I don't personally like that. Okay, and I'm not so sure if I'm allowed to say this here on YouTube. I'll try and be a little bit careful because I can't remember if I saw it on YouTube or I saw it on X, but there was a couple of three gentlemen that were native to Haiti. I believe one had been here for some period of time. His speech was good. He was had intelligent, good English. And there was another guy who was silent, and then there was another guy who spoke the native. I forget what the native language of Haiti is. Okay, but they were talking about things that they eat in Haiti, and they all admitted that there was this common food in Haiti, and that you could buy it in stores just like you go to buy chicken or whatever here in the U.S. And they said this was very common. So whether you're allowed to have that free speech to say that, okay, because suppose somebody said that me to actually name that and to talk about it was misinformation and disinformation. It did not happen. And that was driven by some political power that was trying to do something, even though it was true. Okay, they could come running in here and put all these like banners in here that, you're not allowed to talk about this, yada, 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 whatever. So, okay, to finish off the fine aftershave American blend, has a very, very nice scent. I actually don't know why I don't use this anymore than I do. And I splashed just a ton of this stuff on. So I'm actually not gonna follow up with they actually do have an EDT, okay? And I'm not gonna use that. So that's the shave for today. To the gentleman who owns this razor, I'll get this sanitized, cleaned up, and I'll have some sort of a lubricant on there to protect the steel. It'll be back, heading back your way this week. Thanks for trusting me again on that. Oh, and I did want to say, even though I do some honing for have done some honing for other people. I'm not in the honing business. I don't want to be in the honing business. I don't believe that it is a profitable venture to be in to make money. When I look at what I could do applying my skills and my craft at an employer. But I do this as a hobby. I do this as a fun. I do this to help people. Okay. And what I do, like this gentleman and others, I said, I want you to be generous, make a generous contribution to a charity of your choice. Before that, there were times I'd say, well, swap me a soap or something like that, or somebody would give me something that I didn't really want to have anyhow, but you couldn't really say no. Okay. So I'm not looking for honing business. Okay. I will do it if it's to help anybody out. I can do that. All I can say is the best way to get a hold of me is at the Shaving Cadre. I'm under the same name over there. And I don't want to get into something where I'm swamped and I have way too much to do. But, if you wanted to try my honing method, I'm very, very close to Jared at the Superior Shave. He is in this business. He does not mind doing honing for a fee. He has one of the finest reputations going. And if you send something to me, I would expect you to make a donation equivalent to what he charges to a charity. Okay. And, this guy included. A lot of these guys, I never asked for that, but they'll actually give me a screenshot of their charitable contribution. And in this case, I think the last time, he made a very generous contribution to St. Jude, which is the Children's Hospital, which does really, really good work, and it's something I approve of. So thanks for tuning in. This is Bill out. Everybody have a great week. Bye.
Okay, folks, well, here we are at the honing. This is the package. I have not even opened it yet. I figured I'd do it in front of you. Inside was that box there, obviously, from Meggards. I got it upside down, so I'm not revealing to any addresses or anything like that. But here's the razor, the Ralf Aust coming out of there. He does have really, really nice coffins. I do like those. They're heavy, they're large. Pulling this out, just taking a look at it, taking an overall review of what I got. Nice looking razor, very, very clean. Love the Spanish point. Has smaller scales. It does, I believe it is a 6/8. It does close set on center, and the pins are pretty tight. It's a very, I don't see anything obviously wrong with the geometry. No obvious looking warps looking down from the end at it. First thing I'll do is I'll do a little packing peanut test to see where I'm at. That's an older one. No push cut all the way across. That's just obviously not what I would want to shave with. Just to show that sometimes you can, to differentiate how much energy you put in. If you go in at an angle and use a slice cut on the corner or on an edge, a push cut doesn't work. But as you get a slice, you can see you can kind of go in. And these are good indicators to see, well, just how sharp you are. It's obviously sharp enough to cut you if you're careless. It's not, in my opinion, sharp enough to give a good shave. Here's a couple of glasses that I use that I'll evaluate looking at the edge. these different loops with the LEDs, and that big glass has a smaller end that I got there. Plus, I got other stuff and my microscope. I'm not sure where in this process I put it under the microscope, but I did. Right there, I'm kind of looking downward at it, looking for different geometry things. And just for the sake of it, I ran off and I got some hairs out of a brush in the bathroom, and I wanted to see. Okay, so it fails my packing peanut test. Let me see what it does with this hanging hair test. And this is part of the problem for me why I never really like this. Number one, these things are really, really hard to see. My kitchen is not the brightest in lighting, number one. And number two, it's just the fiddle faddling around with all this little stuff with the hairs has always been something unreliable for me. A lot of people use that for whatever. I doubt that anybody who uses a hanging hair test would take this thing and actually. I'm pretty sure I could shave with it as is. I'm also pretty sure it would not be as comfortable as I would like it to be. First step in honing is going to be to get a pretty deep back bevel. Looking at that razor, it had a decent bevel in it. I didn't see any real problems with it. Probably honed on flat. I don't know if it was honed by the razor maker or the agent who sold that razor. I'm not sure. As I understand, they both use a flat hone. I understand at one time Mr. Aust did not. He converted that to flat hones because that's what his customer base is demanding. So I'm using some different strokes, trying to get a feel for it, circles, and doing different things to try and see, am I going to get a smooth stroke? Where is it stopping at? Where do I need to focus a little bit more energy on? And this is something that you can learn to do with a convex hone. There's that sideways motion. I haven't tried. The gentleman I'm going to call the unknown honer has such success, and Jared is even doing it with the diamond strips of 3M abrasive, what do they call those, lapping films. They've had some pretty good luck with that. It's something I really need to try. But I do, for this back beveling, I do so much like this Lily White Arkansas. This is one of the finer ones. It was a rare find. I got a fantastic deal on it. This will stone and be in my possession forever. There I am using. Here's something to take note of. I'm keeping my finger out on the toe. I'm trying to feel. I think I found out that, like most razors, they seem to need a little bit more work at both the heel and the toe, not so much ever in the middle. And then I'll do some circles to kind of work a little bit. I'm using enough pressure to try and get material off, but not enough. At this point, I do not want to be flexing the blade around. Here's an interesting stroke where I've said this many times, but if you're at 90 degrees to the stone on a deep curve like that, you're cutting as far back in the bevel as you can, and that'll change when you go to the opposite orientation. For the middle range, that Lily White was a 4-foot wheel equivalent. This is a 6-foot wheel. This is my one of the couple of caudicules I have. I just figured I'd try this, put a slurry on it, and work it somewhere along the ways. I got a little bit of work to refine my process with this. One advantage of this stone on that curve is that it does have the full 3 inches of width, and very, very seldom on this stone do you ever get a situation where you begin to get a chip out on the edge. It is possible with the Arkansas stones, the soft arcs. It is possible. Not so much with the lily white, but it is possible. I have had on the soft arcs where you're pushing the limits of the steel, and then you would get some sort of a chip out. I had worked that middle range to my satisfaction. I thought about which one of the long dimension Jared plate stones I'm going to use. This has been this was my very, very first convex stone. It has been it was one of the ones I got from Jared when he shaped these up on that granite plate that he made by hand. I've reshaped it to the Jared plate once he had that made. What I'm doing here, you can kind of see where I'm specifically focusing on the heel. It's very, very, very common. I never really perfected my skills in flat honing, but for sure, one thing I noticed is it's very, very common to need to give a little special focus on the heel. If you like to have that razor shave and balanced all the way along the edge, you got to do that. And I'll be using that in a rocking motion as I go along. Again, enough pressure to try and feel what's going on, but not too much pressure so that I'm flexing the blade at this point. I thought I'd need to go back a little bit. That stone is the 6-foot wheel. I thought I'd back bevel in a little bit on that. You can see the light changing. I got this headlamp thing that's battery charged LED light that's pretty bright. I can wear it on my head. Unfortunately, it goes on high and then it automatically drops back to low power, so you'll see it change, but it does help. There I'm doing some feeling work. I thought I'd again go back to the lily white one more time as a recommendation. I think I said it in the shave, which was after this point, but do not hesitate to rotate back in your stones. More curvy, lower grit to less curvy, finer grit. And these particular three are all Arkansas, and they seem to be, for the most part, where most of my satisfaction, most of my work gets done. Satisfactory with the feel and what I'm getting there. I may have picked it up and looked at it in the glass. I do like to try to be able to see where I have different shapes and radiuses, and the different grits help with that going across the stone, so I can see the transitioning from one curve to the other actually in the bevel. And I'm working the furthest out to the edge at that 90 degrees to the stone. Somewhere in here, one of these long stones on that 24-foot wheel. I will show you how when you canter the razor a little bit on that dimension, since it's more curvy going sideways, when you canter it a little one way or the other. Here's my packing peanut test. And you can see if I go in on just the corner edge, it goes in pretty easy, but that full cut along there, which I like to get, I'm just not quite getting it yet. I figure I'll do a little bit more work on the stone. As I was saying, if you canter on the longer stones if you canter it a little bit. That's an interesting stroke right there that I like to do and get some blending. It also is I think what I've heard it called is like a half stroke, but you're getting some forward cutting as well as some strapping motion. I think I'm coming up on where I'm reasonably satisfied with that stone pretty soon, anyhow. You could see where it just kind of poked in there a little bit. So this is the same shape, 6-foot wheel across the stone, 24-foot wheel around the stone. I'm initially doing some work under the running water to see where it comes out, and then I'm going to squirt a little bit of diluted Dawn dish soap on there. A lot of people on these Suhiro 20Ks, they don't like to do a lot of work on them because they seem to find it that over sharpens. I really don't find that. I find a nice refining, and I've heard people. I know you're not supposed to because I read it somewhere. I think not to put a soap solution in the water on the Nano S Superstones or whatever they're called now. I've been using this Dawn dishwashing liquid on the Suhiro 20K. I find it a little. You can see how it kind of swarfs up. You can find it a little bit less likely to load up with the Dawn, and I get a little bit better feel on where my cutting is. If you look at those little lines, I believe that is about the content. There's that angling a little bit, okay, where on that dimension, I'm actually cutting back away from the edge a little bit. And I was going to say on those lines, that's where that's, at that pressure, that's about, I think that's like the contact point on the blade. And when you angle that, somewhere in here, I think you can actually see that does get actually a little bit wider. So you're increasing the contact width along the edge of the razor. And this is a process where you just experiment to learn to do different things, different strokes, go by feel. For me, my target is always not so much what I like to get the feedback from what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling in my hands, but my measurement always is going back to a look under magnification and how well does it cut on the packing peanut. And there's plenty of people that do the same thing basically with a hanging hair test or an arm hair test or whatever. It is something you really, really do have to have. Just find something that works for you. There's plenty of options. This was one I don't think I totally got satisfaction off of that stone that I wanted, and I looked in the scope, I think, actually, and I mentioned it in the shave, what I thought was maybe a burr a little bit that was extending out, or a fin, or whatever you want to call it. This is a 10th micron CBN on nano cloth mounted on glass. It's something that I'd not found until this particular instance. You can see how easily that cuts in there. I was not getting that, and just going on that nano cloth, it amazed me. Picked that right up to there. Okay, ordinarily I wouldn't have tried to pick that later. I'll have to work some more with that. Some of that I get that idea from the gentleman. I'm going to call him the unknown honer, who's been allowing Jared to post up a lot of his videos. Does some really, really neat stuff. Jared's got him on the website, but he uses Agenda, Jende, nanocloth for a stropping on the end. I think I've seen it used elsewhere. It is an option that people may want to look at. The earlier strops were the Herald pastes that I wrote them up as Dovo. These are the series of the CBN that I go through, and all of these balsa strops all are shaped on the Jared plate at the long dimension. So you have a 6-foot wheel going across 24-foot wheel around. I want you to see how I'm making my stroke, how I'm doing a roll where I'm going from heel to toe, and this is and kind of an X. I guess you'd call this a rolling X. This is my typical motion on all of these shape strops. A lot of times you would think that stropping, because it is true, a stropping action on a flat strop or a hanging strop would have a tendency to put a micro-convexing on the edge. But when you have a slight curve in there, and here's the end right here, not quite enough. Close, not quite enough. I'm going to go back to that a little bit. But since you are working behind the apex, you're less likely to get a rolling. You're more likely to be pulling out, stretching out, drawing out that edge just a little bit. I think I was just a little bit more work it took on that 10th micron, gave me about to where I was ready to go. These are my final strops. That is a kangaroo leather mounted on a magnetic backing, like all stuff, magnetic backing for that particular plate device that I got from Chef's Knives to Go. I really, really like that material. It's not cheap for a 3x11, but it does have a really good feel and a pretty firm draw. So as you're pulling it, as you're stropping with it, you could feel that it would almost, if there was a burr that had rolled a little bit, you would almost feel that you're pulling that out. And then this is what Chef Knives to Go calls sienna leather. I don't know what it is. It's faster. I don't know if it's different finished. I don't really know. But I do seem to think it gets a little bit of a final polishing that I really, really like. And there I am with just the difference from the corner cutting or the edge cutting to the full width cutting of that peanut. I just like to drop that in. So thanks for watching. Hope everybody has a great weekend and happy shaves.